He's a disgrace. And when he says about GB News, I'm thinking of suing them. It's the word thinking. He's never going to sue anybody because people like him will never use their money for something like that. They're all about collecting money, not spending money.
Breaking right now, the far left Scottish newspaper, The National, has just reported that Humza Useless, the failed First Minister of Scotland, is considering legal action against GB News, which he has said is a racist media outlet. So I'm going to take you through this report in The National, which says it comes after the former First Minister was mentioned in a report from the Centre for Media Monitoring, which analysed 2 years of output from GB News. It found that the channel had played down racism, dressed it up as humour, or allowed divisive polemics to go unchallenged, concluding ultimately that GB News is an anti-Muslim hate channel. Now, look, I was the one who, while at GB News, actually created the nickname Humza Useless. And it's because he was useless. There are screeds of evidence backing that up. And as for racist, can I just remind everyone that this is Humza Useless?
White. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white. And not just Justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white.
Oh, yes, but it's GB News. That's racist. Of course it is. Now, I have to read you out what a spokesperson for Useless has said today. It's quite something. He says, this report by the Centre for Media Monitoring confirms what we have all known to be true. GB News is an Islamophobic and racist media outlet designed to target Muslims and other minorities. This is hardly surprising given its most prolific backer, Paul Marshall, had to delete social media posts highlighting his sympathies with extremist far-right conspiracy theories. Humza has, for a number of years, warned of the mainstreaming of Islamophobia in our society. Propaganda outfits such as GB News, who seek to sow division and fan the flames of racial and religious intolerance, must be confronted and held to account for the damaging content they produce. So yes, that's what he wants. He wants censorship, and he is intending to complain to the off-communists or possibly even take legal action. GB News responded to this report by saying this inaccurate and defamatory report is nothing more than cynical, self-serving attempts to silence free speech. It proves exactly why a news organisation like GB News needs to exist and why it is succeeding. We are concerned that at no point did this project of the Muslim Council of Britain contact GB News or its presenters to allow them to respond to these highly defamatory allegations. And Nick Buckley, the problem that we've got is that you can see there's so many apparatuses of state designed to support a man like Humza Useless to cover up for his every personal failing by crying racism or crying Islamophobia when he is allowed to propagate anti-white racism without the slightest hint of pushback.
Absolutely. The milk in my fridge is white. The rice in my cupboard is white. He's a racist, failed leader of the SNP. He was a diversity hire. He got the top job and he failed very quickly. And now he's looking for a new career. And his new career is going to be race baiting. His new career is going to be I'm going to be king of the Muslims in the UK, if not Scotland. He's a racist. We know he's a racist. He's anti-white. We know he's anti-white. He's a really good example of our failed immigration policy, that we allowed people to move here, have children, not integrate, and hate the country they're living in. He's a disgrace. And when he says about GB News, I'm thinking of suing them, it's the word thinking. He's never going to sue anybody, because people like him will never use their money for something like that. They're all about collecting money, not spending money.
But of course, Nick, what happens with that type of threat, with this type of report, is it allows the mainstream media to run coverage for days about GB News being racist, being anti-Muslim, rather than actually talk about, well, what were the sorts of issues that GB News was covering? Was there a complete failure by the mainstream media in this country for a decade to ignore the grooming gangs scandal, for example? And that's why someone like Tommy Robinson was silenced, his words, because they just were too scared to tackle something like that.
And that's why they invented the word Islamophobia, because Islamophobia is not about criticizing Islam, because we're all entitled to criticize other people's religions. Every religion thinks they're the religion, and by definition criticizes other people's religions. Islamophobia is all about power and control. I've got one of these special super words here, and if you say something I don't like, I'm going to call you this special super word, and that's going to shut you up. That's going to worry you. That's going to make your friends and your colleagues look at you a different way from tomorrow. It's all about power and control.
It is. But I do think it's changing for a couple of reasons, Nick, because I think about my experience over the past few years. Now, I was considered someone who was on the center, really, a common sense sort of guy. All of a sudden, over the past few years, I am derided as a far-right person or a conspiracy theorist or something like that. But more importantly, I've been described as Islamophobic and anti-Semitic. So the point is that actually both sides are so quick now to use those sorts of insults that what actually happens, Nick, is that you just think, well, I can't worry about it anymore. Like, I'm a gay man who people call homophobic. This is idiotic. So actually, your insults have been devalued to the point where they are meaningless. And I would say Humza Useless trying to describe GB News as racist just totally derides his whole argument.
We need to get to a stage where we start laughing at these people.
Yeah.
But when they insult us, we just laugh at them. We don't get angry. We don't put complaints in about them. We don't try to sue them. We just laugh at them because they're fools. We know they're fools, and we just need to teach them that they know they're fools, because the days of hurty words have an impact on us now are gone. They've been gone for several years because they've been overused. Every one of those words had a meaning at some point, and was a word we probably needed at some point. But those meanings have gone for decades now. We're the most tolerant, non-racist, welcoming country in the world. In the world. And just as we're getting closer and closer to perfection in those terms, all of a sudden we're perceived to be, and we're called, and we're being taught we're the most evil, racist country that's ever existed. And you can't hold those two thoughts in your head at the same time. This is an amazing country with amazing people with amazing DNA. We created the modern world. We created everything. This world wouldn't exist without English people. And we shouldn't let these fools take that away from us with hurty words.
And I do want to get to why we should have that sort of pride in just 1 second. But first, we've been told our whole lives that wrinkle creams were the easiest way to look younger. Now, one doctor says that's nothing but old news. According to Dr. John Lake, the world-renowned Beverly Hills beauty expert, most wrinkle fixes on the market are nothing but glorified moisturizers. They hardly make a dent on your appearance, he says, and some can even be harmful to your skin. Recently, Dr. Lake has focused his attention away from mainstream cosmetic practices. Why? So that he can pursue a revolutionary anti-aging breakthrough, one that some experts say could empty the wallets of the cosmetic industry. He says it's almost like Photoshop for your face. You may even be mad after seeing how easy it is to visibly erase your wrinkles from view. Now, his personal clients have dubbed his new do-it-yourself technique the age rewinder method because it can take years or even decades off your appearance in under 2 minutes. In light of this amazing breakthrough, Dr. Lake has released a step-by-step video to the public, free and uninterrupted, where he outlines exactly how to use this simple solution from home. If this helps even one person look younger or feel more confident, I'll be thrilled knowing I helped, Dr. Lake commented. The video has since gone viral. At first, it was shared by users on Facebook, but since then, it's racked up over 2.3 million views and counting. So far, the comments and feedback have been outstanding, with thousands of women reporting they look decades younger. One viewer even commented, "Best results of anything I've used. I can't believe how well this works. I'll never stop using this. I don't understand how it works, but the results are great. Thank you." So you can find out much more about this yourself right now. You just need to go to bhmd1.com/outspoken, or probably much easier to just click on the link in the description box below. But let me repeat, www.bhmd1.com/outspoken. Now, there is one thing Dr. Lake asks from his viewers. If watching this video helps you look and feel younger than you have in years, then please share this video with your friends and loved ones. Together, we have the power to help as many women reclaim a youthful look as possible. So go watch the video, bhmd1.com/outspoken right now, or just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show. The first thing I think that is also really important to tackle, Nick, because I completely agree, by the way, absolutely. I'm not trying to shut Humza Useless down. I'm not trying to sue him. I don't give a damn what he thinks about me. But I feel what I can do is shine some light on his complete hypocrisy and say, actually, mate, you're the racist. And that is completely the way that we should deal with this type of lunacy. And yeah, let's laugh. That is one of the reasons why I called him Humza Useless. I mean, he became First Minister of Scotland, Nick, despite having the worst record in government. He failed as the Scottish Transport Secretary. He failed as the Scottish Health Secretary. This man is a failure. So I did want to bring a little bit of humour to it, as I had an entertainment show, but there was also a serious point. It was certainly nothing to do with his race or his religion. But the chilling thing, Nick, and I think this is where we have to take it really, really seriously, is that his solution to this criticism is to shut us down, is to destroy free speech, is to empower a government censor, a government regulator. And if that doesn't work, then they start coming for the social media companies, the big tech companies. And it is quite chilling when we know that the government also agrees with that sort of approach. This is a government now that is pro-censorship.
And let's be fair, the last government, 14 years, was also pro-censorship. I need to remind people all the time, this isn't a Labour problem. This is the Uni Party problem. And we need to push back at these people. The Free Speech Union saved my life 4 years ago when I got cancelled from the charity I set up. You know, people need to join the Free Speech Union,
I'm
get
a member.
Support. Is that you're a member? Absolutely,
and I know they've had an explosion of growth actually since Alison Pearson's case, because I was speaking to someone from the Free Speech Union on Saturday night.
So there's things you can do to protect yourselves, but my philosophy now is I have no intentions of living my life on my knees. I'm going to stand on my feet, and if that means I have to take the consequences of my actions, and if that means I've got to be persecuted by the government and people like Useless, then so be it. If it means I have to go to jail, which I do not want to go to jail, I'm not a big tough man who's trying to be a martyr, but I'm not going to live my life as a coward. I'm not going to be on my knees because it's been happening for far too long. And if everybody else stands up and gets off their knees, honestly, This government is afraid of us. They've already shown us they're afraid of us. We just got to take every opportunity to remind them that, do you know what? You're the public servant. You work for me, and I'm going to hold you responsible. And don't think that you can get away with breaking the law while you're in government, because the next government may be on our side, and we're going to come for all of you if if you interfered in the criminal justice system, if you had a hand with these sentences. We're going to come for you. It may take a decade, but we're coming. We need to make sure they're afraid.
And then to go back to your previous point, Nick, but I think it's a really critical one, and I was discussing this with David Starkey recently too. We have to be proud of what we did in our past. We have to stop teaching our kids that the British Empire is a bad thing. In fact, we actually created the modern world and all of the brilliant parts of it. So what needs to happen to totally change our mindset? Because look, I know this is obviously after the British Empire in a lot of ways, but if you look at what's happened with Winston Churchill, I mean, he overwhelmingly just a couple of decades ago was voted the #1 greatest Briton in big polls by the British Bashing Corporation and Woke Channel 4. You know that just wouldn't happen now.
You destroy a nation by destroying its heroes.
Yes.
Because if a nation has no one to look up to, how are they ever going to fight back? And we're at war at the moment. There's many people who are enemies, internal and external, which I talk about in the book. We have enemies, and we need to be looking up to our heroes, and Churchill is one of those heroes. That's why in the book, one of the chapters is dedicated to our history, and I call it the forgotten history, because we're not taught it anymore now. We're not taught about how we beat the Nazis. The Nazis were socialists. People think the Nazis were far right. They weren't far right. They were socialists, just a different type of socialist. I talk about how most of the inventions, the most medicines, the vaccines of the world we created, the railways, the jet engine, the World Wide Web, almost everything came out of this island. The empire left, I would say, every country that we colonized, we left that country in a better state than when we found it. Hence why we have the Commonwealth, because we didn't leave those countries through war. We left peacefully, and those countries all said, can we just join together as a group now? The British Empire was amazing. We created the modern world. We gave the world our language. The world language is English. We've given the world all our sports. Football, rugby, snooker, nearly all the sports of the world are English sports. And we forget this. This world would not exist in the way it runs at the moment without this island. And we need to understand that. And we need to read about it. And we need to take pride in it.
Yeah, I am just looking at our live poll, Nick Buckley, and what I did is I put the 4 top issues that you pointed out in the promotion for your book. And I asked the Outspoken family, what is the biggest problem facing Britain? 1% say crime, 1% say unemployment, 9% say large state government interference. But I don't think you'll be surprised to know that 90% say mass immigration. And I guess the point is it's mass immigration, isn't it, which leads to all of those other problems. So very interesting, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.